Hey folks, it's been a minute, so of course I have to start with technical difficulties because it wouldn't be one of my streams if it didn't start this way, right? Uh, Disco Dragon for the win. Star Trek starts at 4:30, so we are back to back today, giving you all the best. Uh, Had to sneak in before Ambassador Kale came on. So hi everybody. Since we are limited on time, is the camera going in and out for folks? Because I feel like I'm losing visuals a lot. Let me know if the camera seems to disappear every now and then because it's going blank for me sometimes. Yeah, it went away for a second. So not totally out of the thing here.
Oh, everything seems to be working for me, but then I'm not the one streaming out to the fans. So.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and just turned off again.
Yep. I think I see what's going on. And we will see if this works. Nope, now it's too small.
Oh, we're tiny.
We are tiny. All right, people. All right.
Ah, this is tiny, bro.
All right, I think what's happening now is OBS does not like it when I exit out of the thing, but it should be working now because I am having the Discord window active. So, yes. All right, I see us. I'm going to leave it this way. Brett, you get to monitor chat all by yourself. I'm joking.
Great. Well, the beard's natural, so I'll answer that question. Just got to trim it. I recommend there's a beard trimmer I can recommend. I'll plug some products later on if you want to. But it's an adjustable beard trimmer that can go anywhere from like stubble up to like long beard. And it makes it a lot easier to keep your beard trimmed.
It's not a sponsored stream though. Come on, to get some money if you're gonna, plug something.
Yeah, good point.
Anyway, all right, we are here. You can see us, and unfortunately, because of this, I might not be able to show people the new Rainbow Vanity Pets coming out in 2025. We'll see. I mean, can they sacrifice looking at our faces for a moment to see the Rainbow Vanity Pet? We'll see. We'll see what people say. All right. If my head is turned to the side, I apologize. It is because I have to look at my other monitor to check questions because technology, yay. But it is wonderful to see everybody. It's been several months. It's been, we've been plugging away at developing things for Neverwinter, and we figured we should touch base with the community and answer all those burning questions you all have. There are some questions that came in a little bit earlier. The shout out to Persimer, European counterpart. He's been also just handling community globally. He's been amazing. So he collected some questions, but we also want to take as many live questions as possible. But first of all, I'm going to let Brett introduce himself in case for those of you who don't know him. Who are you, Brett? Tell the people.
All right. Hello, everyone. For those of you who are new, I am Brett Norton. I am the executive producer on Neverwinter for Cryptic Studios. That generally means I'm sort of the caretaker and manager of Neverwinter as a whole. I work with the designers, the artists, other producers, business people, all of our various partners at Wizards of the Coast, Gearbox, San Francisco, etc., to sort of make sure that Neverwinter happens, that we release modules, we put out good stuff, we continue to grow the game. I also work sometimes with some of our partners on the creative end, etc. And every now and then I get in, I monkey around the engine and make some changes myself. So sometimes I get in and do some hands-on work, and most of the time I'm more to manage. But I get a chance to see and review just about everything that's proposed, designed, or developed for Neverwinter, and I'm a pretty big fan of Neverwinter itself. I've been playing it for many years now, and I've got a couple of characters that I take through various forms of endgame content. I've done some of the harder trials, and I generally stay on top of what's happening on the live servers. So I'm pretty familiar with the game, and you can usually ask me questions about what's going on there, and I can try to respond as accurately as possible.
I can vouch that Brett has kept groups of people alive when we've done internal playtesting, and I forced him to be a healer, so.
Although, oddly enough, I actually play a tank mostly on live, but I do have several different characters, and I've played both healers, DPS, and tanks.
Yep. And for those of you who don't know me, I am Nitocris Julia, the community manager for Neverwinter, and I am very glad to see, hello to everybody who's saying hello. It is very nice to see. I can recognize names. Hasn't been that long. But this is a quarterly Q&A stream with our executive producer. We've been, last year was actually really awesome. We managed to hit every quarter a Q&A stream, which, yay, we kept on schedule, which for gaming development doesn't always happen. But I am positive there's going to be lots of questions about upcoming content. So just to kind of rip off the Band-Aid, we have not announced a release date yet. That has not happened, and we are not going to announce it today during the stream.
Sadly, I don't get to do any cool big spoilers for upcoming releases. Obviously, there's some things on the preview shard that you can jump in and take a look at, but formal announcements for when things are happening and what's going to be will be coming shortly, fortunately.
Yep. And things that are in preview is fair game to ask about. So because it's out there publicly, we just can't give you a date of when you'll be able to play it live. So let me check on some questions, unless something has caught your attention already, Brett. Otherwise, let's see.
I'll jump in and tackle one right now. So people are asking a bit about Vollenhaus and Chaotic Writings and the movement of Juma. You will still be able to use Chaotic Writings for the campaign in mod 18 in Vollenhaus. However, you won't be able to purchase Juma bags with them anymore. So the Chaotic Writings will lose obviously a decent portion of their value. We will encourage players to spend those prior to the new module coming out, and we are making some adjustments. Actually, have already made, and they may be up on preview. I don't know, to how to basically complete insurgencies and other things in module 18. Vollenhaus will basically see a decrease in the difficulty for accomplishing things like the Awakened Forges box, as well as completing the sort of Rage of Bell campaign path. So it'll take a bit fewer people. The insurgencies are getting easier, insurgency bosses are getting easier, etc. So we know that moving Juma will make it such there's probably fewer people running around in Vollenhaus as they sort of move towards our new zones. But as a result of that, we're trying to make sure that you can still progress, still get the Awakened Forgers box if you haven't already done that, without having to require huge groups of people to do insurgencies and Bell and other content that's still in that path. But Chaotic Writings will not be something that you have as much value once Juma moves. So before we get to the release, we want and encourage players to spend those Chaotic Writings as Juma is going to take up residence in the new zone.
Yep. And by the way, shout out to those of you who did hashtag Free Juma for so long. There you go. You successfully freed Juma. It was really cool to see, players noticing that Juma's out of the cage and all that fun stuff. So it's really great when we get some of that community involvement in the game. There was a question, which is, are we getting any, I'm going to ask the question that was in chat, and then I'm going to expand on it, if you don't mind. And it was, are we getting any updates to Gond? Which I'm then going to expand to, Brett, how do we approach updates to our events in the game?
So we do updates to events periodically. We try to hit a couple of events every time we work on a new module release. Usually those are for the events that are sort of themed around the module or happen shortly after the module's release. And we hit a different subset of events each year. And this year we will have a number of events that we hit, and some of them are being updated. I don't know if Gond is on the most recent series of events. So if you're wanting an overhaul to Gond, I wouldn't expect it just yet. I don't recall that one being on the upcoming list of events that we're doing, but we are, for example, doing some updates to a number of other events. Our big focus for the near future has been the 10th anniversary. We are doing some unique and cool things for our 10th Jubilee. So expect some more significant changes to that compared to what we've done in previous years. But that's where we're putting a lot of the effort. 10 years for Neverwinter is a big deal, and we didn't want it to be sort of the same anniversary that we've done for the past several years. We wanted to throw in some new original stuff, as well as revise a whole bunch of their rewards and change some things around to make it a little bit easier to get those rewards, etc. So expect most of our changes to be leveraged at that event. Gone, unfortunately, it is on the slate to be updated, but we're trying to also update a few other events along the path too, like Coins of Joaquin and some other ones and whatnot. In the future, we're going to be trying to hit a few more of those smaller events that we have around, refreshing the awards, make things a bit better. Time More is in that same category as well. So we know that we have a number of the smaller events that need updates, and we're trying to get through them, but there's just a limit to how fast we can get through them all. Gone had at least a small update a little while back, but we added like the new mount and everything. So we hope to be able to get back to it soon, but it's not currently on the list.
Yep. As I've been doing the production work for events, so yes, Gond is not on the list. But as Brett mentioned, we do have the 10th anniversary, and there was actually a question if we can get more details on what's happening for the 10th anniversary. I don't want to spoil it because there's been a lot of work going into it.
No, I don't want to spoil anything for that. There's a lot of super secret work going into it. We want it to be a big surprise, but we're planning some great giveaways. Again, we're planning some original new content for the 10th anniversary. We're revising some of the existing rewards and doing a bunch of other stuff. So again, it's not going to be quite the same event as last year. I'll give a slight hint. For example, we've taken a look at the Jubilee hospitalities, the sort of like the beer mugs that you can share with people and whatnot, and revise some of the rewards related to that. So there'll be some nice updates to that to make it a bit more of a viable thing. We know that most people focus on the bounties instead, but this year the Protector's Hospitality be a bit juicier and have some nicer things associated with it.
Yep, just stay tuned. It's only a few months away, but it is going to be awesome. And then, other events like Masquerade gets an update every year as well, because of the teams. And then, the one that's coming, is just around the corner is April Fowls. And, I very much look forward to player reaction to April Fowls this year. So, so thanks for that. Let's see. I'm talking about Wizard.
I'll answer a question that came up in chat. People were asking a little bit about campaign grinds, and us looking at potentially shortening some of the campaign grinds once the players have kind of moved past them on. And that's kind of what we do with some of our legacy campaigns. We do things like the Genie's Gifts, which we have added functionality to for some of our more recent modules, and we've expanded the number of campaign buyouts. And those are some of the methods by which we have to update some of the older campaigns. We are looking in the future, as we move past Sharandar and move past some of those other modules that have been out for a while now, about expanding and doing some more functionality and adding methods to sort of expedite how fast players move through that. In particular, we know that Dragon Slayer is more of a unique campaign, and it requires a bit more grinding than some of our other campaigns have in the past. And we're looking at potential solutions for Dragon Slayer that are unique to Dragon Slayer. But for things like, say, Sharandar, for example, the likely path that we would go with that is in the future to expand it with things like Genie's Gifts and the campaign bios, which is what we've done in the past. We wouldn't likely just go back and change around the Sharandar progression path, etc. Like, no, we have tools that we already do to allow players to speed up progressing through old campaigns, and we would likely to continue to use those since we want those things to be valuable for the foreseeable future.
So a couple other questions that have been asked. One is an update on the Xbox beta shard, which is when we're going to add more people to it.
Yeah.
And just kind of like what any news on the Xbox beta shard in general, like when it's going to get M25.
I don't have any big updates for it. We wanted to get the Xbox beta shard out and get a chance to sort of prove that it could work. We have never done anything like that, and it's been a new sort of technical endeavor for us. I know that we haven't been able to keep it as up to date as, say, preview. There's basically, it's easier for us to push build on a pretty frequent and informal basis to something like preview because it's owned within our system. So we have a lot of easy leeway for updating that, whereas the preview shards for Xbox and whatnot and consoles as a whole are trickier to deal with. We are working on things like a PlayStation preview shard as well too. We're not trying to leave the PlayStation people out, but we are working on ways to expand that, to make it testing a bit easier, and to try to get more frequent updates in so that we can better use it similar to how we use the preview shard on PC. I apologize, I know it's not perfect yet, but we're trying to make some significant strides into giving console players better access to some of that early stuff. Certain components may not survive, however, like we can't necessarily do the character copies that we've had on the PC shard. There's limitations, unfortunately, beyond our control sometimes with Xbox Live and PlayStation Network that say like, hey, look, we can't do these sorts of things. Easy for us to do in our self-contained PC server is harder to do when you have to go through someone else's platform.
Yes, this is my cat who apparently wants to put his tail in front of the camera. So in terms of the answer, Annie, you asked about when we're adding more people. I have a list. There have been people emailing to add to the Xbox beta shard, but since we didn't have M25 on there yet because we had to do some other updates first, I have not added more. I am waiting to hear of when we can get M25 on the Xbox beta, and as soon as I hear more info of that, I will do a new wave of adding people. It has to be done manually. It really is just me entering lists in different areas. So it's not an easy process it's just kind of tedious and manual. And then for PlayStation test shard, we are hopefully getting close to having that one. But this is this is our first time that we've tried to have test content on all platforms, or at least on two for now, on Mimic and on Xbox beta. So it's just, a lot of growing pains, learning how much time can there be in between. But it's a process, and I am very thankful that people are patient. But I am glad that we're at least moving in the right direction in terms of getting the community something they've been asking for, I think ever since I've been on the team. The other question that I saw that was coming up a lot was there are still questions about legacy tunes, some floating around. Do you have any update on that, Brett?
We've tried a number of technical fixes on our end. There's been some flaws with what we've done. We've addressed, and it's been a couple of different cases that have caused the problem. But we are looking at that issue. We hope to have a fix for that deployed that will sort of forcibly reset those characters. I can't promise that it will fall on day one of the next module launch because we're making sure that we don't break any existing live characters in the process of doing that. It's a tricky situation to be in, but we are working on a technical software solution that will basically reset those characters and force them to purge sort of the broken feats and boon states that they've managed to get themselves into. So people who might be using or abusing those things, don't expect that situation to last. We're working on it a lot. We're trying to get it fixed in as quickly as possible. We hope to have it relatively soon. So anyone that's, I don't know, putting a lot of hope or expectations into that sticking around for a while, you will be very disappointed.
Question that let's see if I can catch the name. They're asking about, so Sucker Prize. Rumor has it that a new class comes out at the same time as the movie D&D Honor Among Thieves. Is that false? It's false. We'll let Brett talk about it more.
Yeah, no, and I've tried to forewarn, like, we are not currently working on another class. Classes are a significant amount of effort, and the community has, rightfully so, pointed out a number of issues that we would like to fix with current classes before we jump into adding a new class to the game. And I apologize, we have been wanting to work on Paladin updates for a while, and we have some changes that we have begun working on, but they are currently not in a state that we're ready to roll them out and do some other fixes with. So the current Paladin updates are not likely to be expected a part of the next module. I can't give a time frame for when they would likely roll down, but we're looking at trying to do some small updates to what we can, probably between the next two modules, but no promises yet, because our team is pretty tied up with a couple of major features for the current module and the upcoming next module right now. So as much as I'd like to jump into we're doing a lot of class work, it definitely takes a lot of effort for us to do those.
Yeah, and we with the movie coming out on March 31st, it would be probably not optimal for us to release a class without having shown it to the community first.
Wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the movie. It looks like fun. I'm hoping it's a good movie. We have not been privy to things like tons of spoilers. We know a bit about what's happening within it. We've gotten a little bit, but they've kept a pretty tight lip on what's going to happen in the movie. They didn't want a lot of leaks or other things to go out. So, it's been kept pretty close to the chest. But we're excited for it. The Cryptic team is actually going to go see the D&D movie around the time it comes out. So, and I'm hoping that it has a great sort of vibe to it. It looks like it's a lot of fun. I get a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibe from it, which I like those movies a lot. So I'm excited for the D&D movie.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what players' reactions are about that. I believe I am planning a stream the week after the movie comes out, so it will, have to keep spoilers to a minimum, but I am excited to see what people think if they manage to see it within the first weekend. Let's see. So we haven't gotten questions about Stronghold updates, a variety of questions about the topics. I don't know if you want to just talk about it broadly.
We've done a few updates to Stronghold in terms of, we revised Dragonflights a while back, and then we did some updates to the Stronghold food. We have a couple of other smaller ones that we might be able to get to over the next few months, but we do not have a substantial, and I've tried to forewarn with this. We're not planning a substantial update to Stronghold. We'll see if we can continue to make some quality of life improvements to them. We'll see about trying to do some things like loosening some of the quest repeatal limitations and other things like that to try to make it a bit easier for people that are still leveling up new Strongholds to do it a bit faster and whatnot. We know that there's a large number of max rank guilds and Strongholds out there that players are using, but for the people that are still trying to level it up, we'll see if we can make some quality of life adjustments to just allow that to be a lot faster, since the majority of the player base is using those maxed out guilds and Strongholds already.
We're getting questions about other games, and actually we've done this before. Several years ago we did the Rocktober bug squashing, where they're saying, have we ever thought about, have we ever planned to do anything where we spend, instead of developing new content, no updates, just to focus more on bugs, quality of life updates?
We certainly do, but I'll say that it varies a little bit sometimes by the people associated with it. For example, we can squash bugs, but for stuff, say, like, class bugs or systems bugs, sometimes items bugs, a lot of those fall on the same people. And so there's only, amount of bandwidth that we can do at any given time. And we try to carve out a certain amount of time at the end, sort of beginning of each of our major releases to do bug squashing. And you'll probably see some changes with M2.5 where things that probably weren't super related to just the new features and new content that come out with that module that it just seemingly fixed. Like, oh, hey, they fixed this and they fixed that, and that wasn't really associated. And that's some of what goes on. To note, there are things, like you said, like class reworks and updates. Those take a considerable amount of effort. Those aren't, even though they're existing things within the game, like the Wizard update took a substantial amount of effort. That was probably a month-plus long endeavor by one of our more experienced designers, et cetera. So that's not something that, we can kind of knock out in a couple of days or even a week. It takes a lot more time. We treat those kind of massive undertakings as actual features to be released with the game because of the amount of effort that it takes to go with them. Typically, when we're doing like a bug hunt or something like that too, we may have a couple of weeks to do it. So we're targeting things that can be done within that time frame. It doesn't help us if we can only get through like a small amount of things here and there. But we do try to tackle bugs and issues with everything across the game, ranging from companions to the economy, very small bugs here and there, every time we come with a module. And I think with the next module, once we put out the full patch notes, you'll see, there's a lot of areas that got improved, and there was some small quality of life changes here and there to things that weren't major features or content for the new module.
So someone, Zakor says, new trial seems to be only visible to about 50 to 80 player maximum. I'm assuming you're talking about preview, and that is because we did not have the trial open all the time. We've been opening it up on a weekend, and that is because we still want the trial to be challenging when it goes live. If players can just access it 24/7 on preview, then they can just beat everything on preview, and then when it goes live, they'll get it done in the first day. And we still want to make it challenging. And there will be a master and a normal level of the trial as well. So hopefully when the content goes live, everybody gets a chance to explore it. There's also some questions. Sorry, Kitty. Nope, you're not going to stop the stream. I love you, but no. There was questions about the Dragons in Siege one-shotting people. Have you heard about this, Brett?
I've seen some issues where specific dragons, the Dragons in Siege are actually not the ones from our updated Dragon Slayer, and our goal is to try to update them for the Dragon Slayer models. There's a couple of powers on the dragon, specifically the blue dragon. He has this like lightning storm power that does a massive amount of damage and oftentimes wipes out DPS players in melee range. You can dodge it if you watch for the animation tell, but it's a tricky thing, and that was always one of the more problematic abilities in the old dragons. The blue dragon in particular is pretty nasty. The green dragon also has sort of like a poison cloud that's pretty damaging to players. So our hope is that we'll be able to, for the next running of Siege of Neverwinter, actually get in and revise the dragons to use our newer dragon ones. So some of those older powers you'll see will be replaced with our newer, more better ones from Dragon Slayer.
Katoff, Tabaxi Race, why you gotta break my heart? I think I've mentioned this before, that it just, we tried, it's just the way our models in-game are set up. It doesn't work well with WotC's Wizards of the Coast vision of the Tabaxi Race, so...
Yeah, we tried. That was before I was on the project. I heard about the trials and tribulations with Tabaxi.
Yeah, it was kind of heartbreaking. Let's see. So yeah, they fired on release. Yep. We do try to make things challenging. Try to keep players entertained via challenge, because not everybody loves a lot to challenge, but some people do. So that's why hopefully having a master and normal version offers a little bit for everybody.
I'll mention, because a couple of people mentioned this. I know that there's definitely still some PvP fans out there, but PvP is sort of mostly on the back burner for things that we're looking at updating. It has a much lower engagement. It would take a lot of effort for us to sort of make it more accessible to a large amount of players with a Neverwinter, and for us to tackle, it would have to be a fairly major feature update. It's not currently on our radar for the current module, the next one, so if you're holding your breath for a lot of PvP updates, it's going to be a while if we get around to it. We are looking at some quality of life changes to improve access to some of the legacy PvP items that players can't really get because they're locked behind various walls of campaign progression. It's very difficult to get those PvP matches going. So we're looking at reducing some of the restrictions on some of the older PvP items just to make it a bit easier to acquire those. But we're not going to be able to go back and sort of like reinvent Neverwinter PvP and get tons of people playing it and make queue times really short without a substantial feature behind it. And that's not happening in the near future. So I apologize for this, that people that really wish that it was, but it's not something that's on our radar right
now. So someone's asking about the Master Temple of Spider key fix when. I believe we were just talking about that internally, weren't we?
I believe that the key issue should be fixed shortly. If it's not already deployed live, I'd have to go back, I apologize, and check my builds, because we've been working on a series of builds that have been trying to get certed and released here recently. But we have the fix internally to the key issue. There's another issue associated that we've detected with some of the Dark Maidens gear that is also fixed internally. And if those aren't deployed live, we hope to have them deployed live. I want to say immediately, but it takes a little bit because we're in the midst of trying to get some new builds certified before we start doing our next module. I hope that it'll be included in those fixes. I can't promise it, but I apologize for people experiencing those issues. Again, it's frustrating when we have these issues fixed internally, but we're working through trying to get a build approved so that we can get it out for all platforms.
Folks, I know you all have very strong opinions about things, but when you just make a statement without actually giving context to the question and it's just, spamming the same line over and over again,
I,
that's not,
I'll
yeah.
I'll answer this one's come up before. But
Mm-hmm.
talking about animation canceling. Animation canceling as a broad concept is fine. We actually have several of the powers and classes were built expecting people to be able to do forms of animation canceling. However, certain powers and certain exploits allow you to cancel animations in ways that were not intended. Certain powers, like if you use a sprint or a dash or something to cancel out the animation and you get a small boost in DPS, cool. Usually that's limited by your class's stamina meter and whatnot, so you can't do it all the time. But we have seen players use things like macros and other exploit tools to do things like animation canceling at extremely small and fast intervals to either use at-wills or other powers far more frequently than the game should allow. Don't expect those situations to last forever. Those types of exploits will eventually be patched out, either on the technical end or on the balance end. And if there are specific powers, like, okay, there's this one power that's really awful, but for some reason there's this weird way we can animation cancel, we try to fix those when we can. We fixed a couple of those loopholes in the past. There was some bard powers that shall go unnamed that had that problem that we had to address. But if anyone knows other ones that are causing massive imbalance problems, or let us know and we'll take a look at addressing those on an individual basis. But as a broader concept, no, animation canceling is fine. Like I said, usually has limits around it that are placed into it. It's just in unfortunately rare exceptions where we find a power that was set up awkwardly that you can cancel like super early that you shouldn't be able to, or like we said, we've seen people using certain types of macros to create absolutely banana level usage of things like atmos in a couple other cases, and that is certainly not intended. Something that we would like to fix and patch out exploits like that.
Yep. I was getting a question from Ambassador Kale. For those of you Stowe fans, he was wondering what time we were going to be done. So just if he's listening, we're sure Kale, we'll be done by your 4:30 start. So don't worry. Yep. Still give us half an hour.
I'll answer the Insignia one. We currently don't have a system plan to exchange mythic insignias for an account one. It's a good suggestion though, and we'll look at the viability for it. That being said, it takes a good bit of time to set up those types of exchanges and account-wide things. So we'll look at it. The enchantment one was a particularly important one because we know that at the time that when we put out these new enchantments, we had to exchange all these old ones, and we wanted to give a bit of mitigation on the pain of switching over to the new system. We haven't really updated the Insignia system in a while, but we'll look at trying to make it, because we know that for people like alts, especially as they start wanting to bring alts into things like end-game content and whatnot, having to re-gear up a full page of insignias is a lot of time and effort, and it's annoying if you have ones that are like bound to your account, you have to put them in the bank and transfer them over, and all those same things apply as to why we like the quality of life updates for enchantments. Having to do the same things with your insignias is also not great fun. So we'll see what it is. It's not currently something that'll be coming out in the near future, but we'll see if we can do something about it down the road.
I'm going to go to one of the questions we got ahead of time, which is any plans to refresh or rework the VIP system?
We've taken a look at that. We've moved a few things around within it. We've talked about like eliminating all the ranks and just collapsing it down to a single rank and giving some benefits to it. Overall, we've bounced around a lot, but the reality is we actually have about 50% or so of Neverwinter's players actually use the VIP system. So we've got pretty good participation in it if you think of it kind of like a subscription. And we don't want to monkey with it too much because players seem to like the basics of some of the stuff that they get from access to the travel signpost and some of the vendors that you get, as well as the daily key benefits and whatnot. We want to make that more accessible to players so they can get more of the benefits at lower ranks. But at the same time, every time we've talked about it a lot, there's been people that that talk about all kinds of crazy change to the VIP, and we're like, people have been using it for a while. Unless we are pretty solid that this would increase how much players use it, we don't want to do it. Like I said, that's why we've moved a few things, like moving a travel signpost to rank 1 and whatnot, and a few other ones, just because we knew that those were awesome aspects. And we've been toying around with giving out more free VIP. Like we've been giving out week-long or day-long VIPs. We do a lot of promotions now where we try to give out a week of VIP, because for the people that don't have it, like we think it's really enticing, and we'd love it for more people to be subscribed to VIP. Like we'd love to get that number up to like 60 or 70% of the Neverwinter's players.
So seeing a lot of questions regarding classes and classes and boons and that kind of stuff. So I definitely can look into getting a system stream, more system specific stream down the road. But there was one question which is why scrolled away. Why do 6 classes have 2 roles but 3 classes don't? So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit, Brett, about the philosophy about why some classes are divided the way they are.
I mean, the classes are divided the way they were as part of sort of the M16 class rework, and it kind of broke things up in the way. I think that question might be a bit loaded because what I think they're asking is there's certain paragons that are not great right now, and I know it's come up a lot that the Rogue Whisper Knife is not in a great spot right now. We're aware of wanting to do some work with that one to fix it up, and Wizards just finally got an update to that, which helped the Thaumaturge out a lot. Prior to that, a lot of people wouldn't play Thaumaturge, so we're glad to see players are willing to engage with the Thaumaturge again. And eventually, we definitely want to get the same benefit out for like the Whisper Knife, as well as the Rangers off specs, etc. So there's a couple of paragons that are not holding up well, and we have plans to try to address those. But the whole why do some classes have like 2 DPS? Why do some classes have healer intake? That was just how the split came down when they decided that they wanted to do 2 paragons per class back in M16. That was prior to my era working on Neverwinter, so I didn't have a lot of impact within that one. But the reality is that changing, adding, or expanding that is pretty substantial. Adding a new paragon isn't as much work as adding a new class to Neverwinter, but it's close. It's a lot of work. So we always have to pick, where do we spend time? Should we focus on adding a new class? Should we focus on improving existing paragons? Should we try to add a paragon? Like in most cases right now, my preference is to try to work on fixing some of the underperforming paragons as well as just some of the classes that struggle. But again, I've talked about some of the concerns we've seen over Paladin, et cetera, and some of the improvements we want to do, especially for Paladin healers and in small groups. And so those are the things we're likely to focus on first before we, for example, we're going to try to add a new paragon to rogues or a new paragon to something.
Question: will you be updating the Reaper Marks rewards and trade bar store?
We are looking at that. No promises here on the short term, but we have looked at what we can do to try to make those shops better. As some of you may have noticed, because we hinted and talked about this, the appointment store will be undergoing some updates. We changed the prices on a number of the items that were sort of a bit overpriced relative to their value. And you saw that with the Siege of Neverwinter event, which is still ongoing. And in the future, we expect some new additions to that. And we're going to try to keep those stores, such as the appointment store, the Wondrous Bazaar, and the Trade Bar store a little more fresh. We do recognize that some of those have gotten a little out of date. There's still some usable things in there. There's always companion upgrade tokens and mount upgrade tokens, and you can basically get Insignia powder for trade bars. But we want to try to add some more useful things to those shops in the upcoming year.
Another question about adding more stuff, which is how about adding more appearance items, either in game or in the Zen store?
We try to add new appearance items. We get new items with new visuals in with each of our modules, but adding exclusively appearance items that we just add for the sake of new appearances, we haven't gotten great returns on them in the past, and that's kind of the reality of it. Most of the time, if we add a entirely new model of, say, like a weapon or various things like new armor pieces, etc., we almost always get more value out of building that into exactly like new armor pieces or new weapons or new rewards for events, for our campaigns, for our dungeons, for our trials, whatever the case may be. Whenever we just make a purely cosmetic item and put it in any of the stores, it gets very little traction. There's a lot of power gamers in Neverwinter that really focus more on stats, and they're happy to if they get dupes of an item, convert it to an appearance item, and then use it like that. But they're not likely to spend a lot of time, money, or effort to get purely cosmetic items. There's a few exceptions, like when we do them for giveaways and promos. People love them, especially when they look cool. But not a lot of people are willing to go to the Zen store, for example, and just buy them, or even sometimes the Wondrous Bazaar. They'd rather spend their AD and or Zen on like mounts and companions and things.
Yep. Though funny thing that just happened this afternoon. We had one of our team meetings, and our art director showed some cool new fashion stuff and other things that for the team. And it's awesome to see all the rest of the team. I'm like, I want to claim that one for my my feature. I want to claim that one. So
we do have a few new cosmetic items coming in for the aforementioned promos and things like that too. Yep. And that's oftentimes where we leverage those. We use them as part of promo packages.
Let's see. There was a question. So are we looking at any more options for Unbind tokens? Like any more items where? Yeah. Any news on more items where we can use Unbind tokens? Asks Aster. Hi, Aster.
We've been asking that question ourselves a lot in terms of how we should leverage Unbind tokens going forward. We are going to be selective and careful about doing it because the Unbind system is kind of right now more of a jailbreak system, and allows those items to be forever unbound and allows them to sort of filter through the economy in a huge number of ways. So we need to be a bit picky about that. If there are certain things the player community would like to see unbound, we can propose that to the internal team. But in general, we've been flow with it because we want rewards to be sort of earned in particular, and we don't want to create a plethora of some of our more recent items being unbound and sort of being jailbroken forever. But we do want to slowly over time expand sort of the historic items that players have used for a bit. Maybe they want to get people want to get access to either for appearance items or because they're still useful in some older builds to increase the use of that. But it is a careful process we have to manage because of how Unbind Tokens really jailbreak items like that.
Urkelin22, bring back Feral Raptor when? Another thing we were just talking about recently. For those wondering, the Feral Raptor was part of the 2019 Summer Charge promo. So it's been a while.
We've talked about the Feral Raptor. I know there's a few companions and mounts and a few other things that have not been released in a while. They're not able to be obtained. A few people know about them. We added them to the collection just so we were kind of aware, like, hey, these things existed. Some people have managed to get them, and we're looking at ways to bring back some of those, companions that you've released. We've done a few things like that, like with the tutor and a couple other companions that were extremely rare or difficult to obtain and whatnot. And we'll typically bring some of those back here in the future. But we've looked at what we could do and how we can get some of those very rare and one-off companions and things we've done in the past back in the game. So nothing's exclusively gone forever, and we always try to like come back and after a couple of years and pick up some ones that players want but weren't able to get when they were released in that small window.
That reminds me, I should make a thread on the forums asking people for those rare companions and mounts that that haven't been seen in a while. Someone was asking about the teal axe beak. I don't know if that was a console specific one. I know that for a while we were doing mounts that were they're either of a blue tint or a green tint, depending on if you're an Xbox or a PS player. So there are several of those kind of unique, that are only for those consoles floating around. So it's always good to revisit some and know what kind of the community is thinking. Let's see. Any updates to drop rates for Mastercrafting and success rates?
Nothing in the short term. We have looked at Mastercraft. We made some initial adjustments. It was obviously a little bit too hard for some of the things we had to craft, and we've discussed some of the imbalances. Some of the items are extremely challenging still to craft. They require a lot of whiskers. They require a lot of other rare resources that you can sometimes only get from the Vault of Stars dungeon. And in some cases, we like the fact that there's demand for them, and we like the fact that players are actually spending time to go out and acquire Mastercraft items. But at the same time, we recognize that there's a bit of an imbalance. And sort of the cost in certain classes have to pay many millions of astral diamonds to get their sort of Mastercraft weapons or other goods, while others get away a lot cheaper. And that imbalance isn't great. But we've looked at a couple of different avenues for adding more ways to get some of the Mastercraft items so that it's just a bit more accessible. But we know that there's still a few recipes, but hopefully it's not crazy awful. I managed to get my Mastercraft weapons on my Barbarian, and certainly the offhand for that was incredibly expensive. So it was many millions of astral diamonds to pick that up, and some classes get away with things a little bit easier since they don't have to use some of the rare components.
Someone was asking, why do Mastercraft items don't drop double for Professions weeks when we have the double Professions events?
I know why. It's not an interesting answer. It's a technical one because they weren't set up in the same way as other profession things to double drop, which sucks, but that's unfortunately the reality of the situation. It's something we'd like to do, but because of the nature of how Mastercraft items are generated through various other loot tables and things, it's not like an easy fix that we could do at a technical level. It would require a lot of checks and balances to ensure that it does what we want. So I agree. It would be great if they did. It would drive people more towards professions and doing certain pieces of content during those weeks. But sadly, that system wasn't set up that way from the get-go. And since it wasn't set up that way from the get-go, reverse doing it now would take a decent bit of effort. But we can I can talk with the team. We can try to see really if it's something we think we can manage. If we could just at least do it for the most recent Mastercraft resources and some of the more popular ones, that might help the situation a bit. But it's challenging for us to say, okay, we could just easily do it for across all the ones, because from what I've seen, unfortunately, it has to be manually updated in a lot of places to catch that, since it wasn't done that way from the get-go.
Any updates on the normal version of Zerial awarding the completion achievement?
We'll double check that. That's actually it should. And as long as the achievement doesn't specifically say complete the master version, then it should. If that's not a bug, I'll make a note here to type that with bug. We've been trying to fix a couple of various achievement issues that we've come across. And if something doesn't specifically say it should only be done in the master version, then we definitely should allow it.
So quality of life improvement suggestion. Let us sort 10-man queues or 10-person queues without having to kick players. What are your thoughts on
Yes,
players?
I know. I completely agree. That is a huge QOL. We've talked multiple times about trying to get a better Q group / trial / raid sorting mechanic, and it's not the greatest. And I apologize for how much effort that takes. It's something that's been on our list of like, okay, can we do this? Like, can we get the UI time and all the software time it would take to allow some great resorting this? So it's a bit of a heavyweight feature, since that the window that as it was originally constructed was not built to do the flexible things that we want to, but it's something very much on the software and QL side that we'd like to bite off on. It's on our short list of like, these are like key UI quality of life improvements that we want to do. The inventory ones that we did a while back with allowing sorting and filtering and whatnot of inventory was also on that list, because we know lots of players, including myself when playing the game, have huge inventories, and being able to sort that, and the whole Q group sorting list is on there as well.
Yep. A couple things. One, for those of you who see me laugh when I ask Brett a question, it's usually because Brett is extremely passionate about the game and brings some great insight, and I know he often shares the frustration the community shares, so when community brings it up, I know that it's going to, poke at Brett's frustration. And anytime I can frustrate my boss is always fun. And the other thing is, actually, thank you for the reminder. Someone asked, Mac and Ketchup, can we get a fix on the Guristro in demo? He gets stuck in the wall. Yes, actually, I've been talking to Lasser about this. Lasser has been poking me about it. We just need to follow up on that, unless you have any updates on Guristro getting stuck on the wall, Brett.
No, I believe we have that issue documented internally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hang on, let's see. Yeah, unfortunately, it is open, but we're trying to get a better repro for it so that we can better figure it out. But it's not fixed yet. We do have it documented. I was just double checking to make sure. Yeah, we have that one tracked. But I don't have a fixing for it just yet. Apologies.
All right, but yes, thank you for the reminder, and I'm sure Lasser is somewhere feeling vindicated. Oh, yes, there he is. See? Hi, Lasser. Let's see. Can we get more interesting, harder Xbox achievements than just completing campaigns and dungeon/trials? So I think you're referring to the console-specific achievements, not the in-game achievements. So yeah, Brett, what are your thoughts on getting? I have some ideas of why we don't make them too complex, but I don't know if you have any insight into.
Generally speaking, we try to have the in-game achievements. We try to offer a larger subset of fairly interesting ones in terms of like, hey, here's some really eclectic ones that'll have you required to go do here, go do this, etc. For the ones that actually are, platform driven by things like trophies or by the Xbox Live specific achievements, generally we try to make those more on the accessible end so that players can unlock their sort of platform points in whatever way that we want. We try to put in some more unique ones for the in-game stuff that we can attach. We have a bit more flexibility with what we do with some of the in-game ones, and we're less restricted in some of the point categories. And like I said, it's a tricky situation. I can't comment on it too much since I'm not the one that implements all the achievements, but we try to have a subset of achievements and trophies that feel good but aren't ridiculously hard to get, while we still have some of the ridiculously hard to get ones being used through our sort of in-game achievement system that drives sort of like some of the player completion stuff, like defeating some of the master trials without people dying, etc.
And just a little side note, so there are very strict rules about editing achievements that are console-specific ones for the platforms. Each of the platforms is very strict about rules about you can't, if you create an achievement, going back in and trying to edit it is a big no-no, just because, you're setting up a certain standard, certain point equivalency. So making them, a little bit more less complex, more straightforward. Go kill this, complete that. Makes it a bit easier also on not having to go back and then somehow having to edit the achievement. So yeah, it's when you're working with other platforms or third parties, there are different layers than when you're just working on the product. Let's see.
Yeah, we have a bit more leeway when we're with our in-game ones for fixing things.
Brett, do you think you can implement a quality of life feature where you can favorite mount combat powers? The amount of mount combat powers are getting quite large.
In general, mount combat powers, as well as some of the other sort of, we'll take a look at and see if there's what we can do QL-wise in terms of making it a bit easier to sort those kind of long list. Companion player bonus powers are kind of getting into the same boat, especially if you have a lot of them unlocked. It just depends, but that's kind of. After getting our inventory QL fixes and getting better sorting for some of the subsystems, things like companion player power bonuses, mount powers, mount costumes / skins that you can work on. Those things are all great areas for future interface QL.
Yep.
Although I'm still going to lean more towards on wanting to get the Q Group one fixed up next if we can.
Yep. All right, so let's see. There was another question here, unless something else caught your eye. Here's a question about M25. Is it possible to keep the 3 Insignia bonuses while having 4 Insignias equipped?
I think so. I'll have to double check. I believe they require unique insignia so they don't clobber, but I'd have to check with our systems team to make sure. But I'm pretty certain that is the case. If that's not, then we'll have to make some adjustments. We certainly want players to equip 4 insignia bonuses. We don't want them to feel like, oh, I don't want to equip a 4th insignia because it would get rid of my important 3 insignia slot bonus.
I'm also seeing some questions about more streams, and if I do want to definitely plan a systems one. I have to talk to the systems team, the lead, and then the other actual systems designers, and see how we want to arrange that. But it would likely be after M25, just because there are some changes coming in M25 that might influence the kind of questions folks have. So I would not expect another stream pre M25 at this point, just because your questions will likely change after you've had some chance to kind of play around with M25. Let's see. Go ahead, Brett.
People have asked about Paranoid Delusion. The Paranoid Delusion is undergoing some radical changes for the next module. Mm-hmm. Don't expect it to be in the place that it is right now on live. It's going to change a lot. The days of questionably broken and not in a good spot, Paranoid Delusion will soon be over. So I would highly encourage you not to go out and spend all of your hard-earned resources acquiring Paranoid Delusions right now, because the way they were set up was not great. It was buggy and problematic. We've spent some effort as part of our companion update for the next module addressing those, and we're trying very hard to ensure that they are in a much more fair and compatible state with the other ones, which means that they're not going to be, in some cases of some classes, ridiculously overpowered is the way to put it. So don't expect that situation to last. I know some people have been asking about the shield glitch. They're talking about the shield glitch relating to like deaths. We've tried very hard to get a consistent repro from that. We have not been able to get a repro for that internally. We are aware of it, and we've tried several times to figure out what's causing it, but we have not been able to get it to happen consistently enough to say, okay, cool, we know why it's doing it. We know what series of events is triggering this, because we've run numerous internal tests trying to repro it. QA has, let's say, killed themselves a lot on paladins and fighters and have not been able to get the case to occur in a situation where we can trap why it's occurring.
Yep. Oracle asks an interesting question, and I am not exactly sure how I could answer that or what information we could even help to provide, which is, do you have any data that could provide some insight on ways the community could do our part to bridge the gap between endgame players and the rest of the player base? It's a very good question. I don't have an answer, and I'm not sure what data or information we could provide, but Brett, you have some thoughts?
I'd just say that we are looking at ways so that it's not as much required by the community, but it's something that we'll do more of in game. I can't offer any spoilers, but we are currently looking at, and it's not near term by any stretch of the imagination, but something up and coming we have talked a lot about internally is trying to provide a more clear path for players, for example, who have just reached level 20, and how to get them to move towards the end game content and end game systems a lot better. And we have some current work planned to facilitate that. So that's one of our upcoming endeavors. That being said, we hope that some of the systems we have in the game right now, like the Battle Pass and a few other things, are great ways for players to, hey, just go do these things. There's a lot of great rewards. They'll help you catch up. And they hopefully encourage you to do things that are also good for you, such as running the various queues. Running a random trial queue is a great way to get Astral Diamonds, which can be used to acquire other things that will improve your character. So not only are you advancing your battle pass, but you're earning a lot of Astral Diamonds and seals, which will let you get gear, let you buy stuff off the auction house, progress your battle pass to unlock new things to advance your characters. So we've tried to put in a few systems that where if you just kind of do the obvious thing, you're doing good things that will help advance your character. But we recognize that we need a bit more work there, and that's something it's not distant future, but it's also not near term. It's mid future that we're looking at trying to work on.
Yep.
And no, since the new artifacts are going up to 1500 level, we're not necessarily going to bump up the old ones just yet. We'll take a look and thought about that down the road, but no current plans to retrofit old artifacts.
You anticipated my next question, which is, we have a few minutes left. But before I ask, I can look at the questions, but I am going to show you the next community Vanity Pet. Forgive me if you lose visuals. You should hopefully still be able to at least hear us. Let's see. So people are used to, oh, come on, mouse. There we go. So people are used to seeing that and not that. There we go. So people are used to seeing those. That does not include the mounts. Those are just the vanity pets we currently have in the game. And we're like, okay, well, what's missing? What do we feel is missing? And there we go. You're getting a rainbow beholder vanity pet, and it is actually really awesome to see it in game. And it'll be available with M25 as a community exclusive, which means I will work with our content creators so they can have some codes to give out, and I'll be giving them out as well. And I also have some insight into what the next ones are coming out, the next rainbow exclusives. I'm also going to try to sneak in a amount. Hopefully the rest of the production team doesn't yell at me. But in the meantime, we do have more Vanity Pets planned. But I know a lot of you look forward to each of the new Rainbow Community exclusives. So hopefully you enjoy when the Beholder comes out. And those of you who did have a chance to check out the trial from 25 on preview, you kind of understand why it's a Beholder. But yes, hopefully you all enjoy that one. All right, I think we have time for me to sneak in one more question before Kale, starts kicking down the door. So what other questions have come up that I missed? Let's see.
Let's see. There's been a lot. Some small ones, some big ones.
There were, yeah. Let's see.
Looking at the questions list that have been asked.
Wait, is the beholder mount only from codes? So you're talking about the personal tank beholder, though that was actually originally from they have the Dungeon Master event. It had a pretty low drop rate, and then it was given out via codes a few times and as community giveaways. And now it's actually in the appointment store, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. It costs a couple of tokens, but if you like that, you can pick it up at the appointment store.
Yeah, and there are actually more updates coming to the appointment store with M25. We did some price adjustments prior to the new module release, but when the new module releases, there should be some new goodies in there.
I know someone asked about Boons. They're still on our to-do list, but it's not short-term just yet. Hopefully before long-term, but unfortunately we weren't able to squeeze it in to the current module. And apart from maybe some small fixes, we're not going to be able to do a substantial revamp to it just yet. It's something that we've talked about a lot, but every time we get down to brass tacks, it's like, this is to do the thing we want to do is always going to take more effort than we think that we have easy time for. So it's in a tricky situation where we might just do some small fixes because we'd like to make some improvements and quality of life updates to the existing Boons, but the solution we want to do would take a bit more time than what we have.
Looks like there's repeat questions now, like on Reaper's store. So hopefully folks can go back and watch the stream again. But there's definitely some more lingering questions, though I do again encourage people to ask them in the form of questions and not just statements. It always helps. But I will be planning more streams. It seems like you've missed me, or at least you've missed getting answers for things. But yeah. Go ahead, Brett.
Did a few other random things. No, the Nox box is not currently slated to come back. It was not tied to the Paranoid Delusion. It was a bit of a test as we were trying out some new stuff, maybe in the future, but we're not committing to the Nox box coming back. I'm not certain what the Assassin's Choker bug, but if it was the issue relating to the visual appearance, we know there was a couple of items that were blocking visual customization. We have those fixed internally. We'll take a look again at the whole shield death bug and see what we can try to do, and try to, like I said, I'd really like for that to get fixed as well, too. So, and couple of other random ones. Try to see what else that we had. Players had asked a little bit about if we were going to try to update professions and/or workshop to include new items. It's on our list, but again, unfortunately, it's something that winds up taking a lot of effort. Every time we've tried to add either new masterworks or other new crafting things for it, it can be a lot. The recipes and the whole system is a lot of work to get all the various things updated for it. So we would like to, but once again, due to work constraints, maybe not in the near future. It may have to be something that's long-term to middle-term, unfortunately. But we'll see. It's just about maybe just adding a few items. One of the things that we've focused on mostly is actually kits and jewels, and some of the other consumable ones is perhaps something we would tackle sooner rather than later because those are valuable, they're reusable, and it's something that if we just updated those, it would be a more contained amount of work than trying to say, like, add a whole new tier of craftable gear across all of the classes and all of the professions at the same time.
All right, we are officially out of time because Stowe also wants a chance. But just stay tuned for more news. M25 release date announcement coming soon, and more stream scheduled. I'm going to try to at least get some more scheduled for the next few months. And yes, thank you, everybody. A lot of questions. I know we didn't get to all as usual, but really appreciate everybody tuning in. And hopefully we'll try the next one will be earlier in the day so our European counterparts, more of them can join. They don't have to be here so late. So thanks, everybody. Have a great evening. And as always, or whatever time of day it is, as always, stay safe and take care of each other. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.